Hello, welcome to my final video about academic language in dual language settings presented by me, Adriana Guerrero. I'm going to start by presenting this cartoon. This is a cartoon with a lady that could be a teacher or a school administrator presenting some data to another teachers or maybe other school administrators. And she's telling them, according to this poll, when asked if there was sufficient English as a second language instruction in their school district, 30% of the ESL students say yes and 60% didn't understand the question. Oh my goodness. I found this cartoon a as a sarcastic way to express the reality that we are living in many of our school districts or our schools. That's something that happens in my school. Many of our ESL students or emergent bilingual students or multilingual students do not understand the language. And it's very sad because they don't really understand what we are saying, what we are doing. And when we are talking about academic language, they're facing a huge challenge. That's what that's what takes me to my driving question for this presentation. Is academic language a helpful tool for figuring out what we are learning? Fillmore says, language is pretty invisible if you know it well. It is not invisible if you don't know it well. Then it is a big wall. I think that phrase represents what our students live in their daily lives when they are in a classroom trying to learn a second language. So let's go to the next slide to get deeper into this. So I want to connect that idea of this big wall when their students are learning another language with the language of schooling. The language of schooling is not the language that our students use in their everyday language. They need to move to that everyday language to academic language. And is when they need to use more specialized vocabulary, grammar, and writing styles to meet the common core standards and content expectations. That's mentioned in Sewers in one of the articles that we read, and I found it very important and very interesting because the language of the schooling is so different to the one that the students use every day in our classrooms. And we as a teachers, or at least me as a teacher, need to understand how that everyday language is different. However, even though it's interrelated with the vocabulary and basic grammar and some communication skills that our students use in the classroom, but when we talk about language of schooling, we want to include those disciplinary terms, abstract ideas, and complex syntax of, of our teaching, of our daily lessons. Is a school-based registers that we use in class and that we expect out for our students to use. See, is a is a set of different academic registers that they need to use. That's the language of schooling, and I wanted to present it as a Venn diagram in which they are both connected in some way, but it's not just the everyday language that they use. The language of schooling, it has a very highly structured way to present ideas. I also want to include the videos that we watch as a part of my final reflection. Both videos, one, the two students in academic conversation, and the other one, debate sobre el reciclaje, are a clear example of how the students are using academic language. They are just in both the students are using the school-based registers to present their knowledge of the disciplines that they were discussing. Also, both of the videos present the uses of the language according to WIDA. They are relating, informing, explaining, and debating their ideas. They are using the language to do that. And it's just connected with what Seward says that academic language is a toolkit for expressing complex thinking. It's just reminding us academic language is when the students express their complex thinking the critical thinking and their um, the dense understanding of a specific discipline. Now, I don't want to move forward without talking about those critical components of academic language. Something that I've learned or understood in this course is that academic language has its own critical components, and Schlepper and Sewers presents their very unique ideas of how those critical components are. So I wanted to use both videos, the one in English, academic conversations, and the debate about recycling in Spanish, because in both videos, again, the students are using academic language. They are using school-based registers to present their knowledge on the disciplines that they were discussing or talking. And I believe that that's the way that myself as a bilingual teacher is expecting for the students in class to use the academic language. So Schlepperkel says that some of the components that are very critical in academic language are specialized grammar, vocabulary, unique genres with authors that has that specific purpose for the students to learn. In the other hand, Seward says that the academic um, that the critical components of academic language is when the students use that specific vocabulary into a discipline to use a unique discourse that presents a complex ideas. And I truly saw that on the videos. And for myself, I need to understand that academic language is not just articulating words, but the grammar and discourse that bind ideas, that is built through rich classroom and scaffolding. And I think that this is the key for me. And I think this is my takeaway. I need to provide a unique and specific scaffolding for the students. Because if I don't provide that scaffolding, it'll be very challenging for the students to really build that academic language and understand that academic language. No quiero terminar este video o esta reflexión de mi aprendizaje sin incluir el marco de los estándares de desarrollo auténtico del lenguaje de Guida. Creo que Guida presenta una manera muy adecuada de cómo el lenguaje tiene un rol muy importante en el aprendizaje de los niños. Me gustó mucho cómo Guida dice que las ideas principales para entender el funcionamiento del desarrollo del lenguaje son la equidad, la integración, la colaboración, la interacción, las multiliteracidades y el transculturalismo. Todas esas ideas se interrelacionan unas con otras para realmente entender cómo el lenguaje es importante en nuestros estudiantes. No es solo que hablen, no es solo que se comuniquen, sino es también proveer de una equidad, de una oportunidad para que ellos interactúen unos con otros, que aprendan sobre diversas culturas y diferentes literaturas. A su vez, el aprender sobre los estándares del desarrollo del lenguaje de WIDA fue muy bueno para mí porque cada estándar habla sobre cómo cada una de las disciplinas o de las diferentes materias como artes del lenguaje, matemáticas, artes del lenguaje en inglés y en español, sociales, ciencias y la parte también de socializar y aprender están todas interrelacionadas en el uso del lenguaje. Es muy importante aquí que yo mencione que esos estándares están conectados con los usos claves del lenguaje, que son relatar, informar, explicar y argumentar. Esos usos son los que queremos usar, son los que queremos implementar en nuestro salón de clases. Queremos que nuestros estudiantes, como lo vimos en los videos, queremos que nuestros estudiantes se relacionen con los contenidos, que puedan ellos informar sobre su entendimiento, que puedan explicarlo, que puedan debatir lo que entendieron. Eso va más allá de solamente hablar y dialogar. Eso va a llevar a nuestros estudiantes a un entendimiento académico y ese es el lenguaje que nosotros queremos promover en el salón un lenguaje académico que los ayude a tener un mejor desarrollo académico. And this is almost the last part of my presentation. Here are my references. And this is the end. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you like all my reflections. I know that it was too much, but it was just a little bit of what I understood and some of my takeaways after this course. Thank you for watching. Bye.